Smart 24, driving business.
The African Continental Free Trade Area is a noble initiative that will definitely bring great benefits not just to the various African countries but to the African continent as a whole. However, there have definitely been very many challenges along the way that have hampered trade. We have had instances such as border closures, one such instance being the border closure between Uganda and Rwanda, which started in 2019 and lasted the whole 3 years. There have been instances of that nature also in the West African region. Join me on this journey to West Africa, courtesy of the Single African Market Program with its host, Samuel Ajimang, to find out what exactly transpired when a coup d'etat happened in Guinea in 2021 and how did it affect trade, not just in the country that was affected, but the region as a whole. Enjoy the show.
Hello, welcome to the Single African Market under the auspices of the For Better Business Together initiative of the International Chamber of Commerce, with about 45 million businesses across the entire globe, together with the United Nations Development Program, the UNDP, and the Business for Peace Foundation. The German Development Corporation, GIZ, is proudly associated with the program as well, together with the United Nations Economic Commission for Africa, UNECA. The program was launched last year in October 2020 by His Excellency the President of our Republic, as well as the Prime Minister of Norway. Now, in the coming days, I think on the 16th of September or so, the ICC as well as UNECA will be launching the Africa Center for Entrepreneurship, under which the Single African Market is fully captured, and will be bringing you up to speed with everything that happens around that particular African Center for Entrepreneurship. Folks, this week we began with not so good news. The long-held dream of the continent of Africa to have a stable continent got fractured once again with a coup d'etat all the way in Guinea, unfortunately. Also this week, the Prime Minister of Ethiopia, whose country is also struggling with peace and security, visited His Excellency the President of our Republic, Nana Addo Akufo-Addo. Guinea is one of the first 10 out of 38 countries that have deposited their instruments of ratification as of 27th August 2021, after Ghana, Kenya, Rwanda, Niger, Chad, and Eswatini. On Sunday, 5th September 2021, Special Forces soldiers ousted Guinea's long-serving president and claimed to have dissolved its government and constitution and closed its land and air borders. As the United Nations condemned any takeover by force and the West African region's economic bloc, ECOWAS, threatened reprisals, the elite army unit's head, Mamadi Doumbouya, said, quote, poverty and endemic corruption had driven his forces to remove President Alpha Condé from office.
La personnalisation de la politique.
The personalization of politics, of political life, is over. We will no longer entrust politics to a man. We will entrust it to the people. We come only for that. It is the duty of a soldier to save the country.
Gunfire erupted near the presidential palace in the capital, Conakry. Hours later, unauthenticated videos shared on social media showed Condé in a room surrounded by army special forces. President Condé is reported to have been taken to an undisclosed location, and the forces commanded by Doumbouya had made several other arrests, including senior government officials. The junta that appeared to have seized power later said that Condé was not harmed. His well-being was guaranteed, and he was being given access to his doctors.
L'irrespect des principes démocratiques, la politisation à outrance de l'administration publique.
Condé won a third term in October 2020 after changing the constitution to allow him to stand again, triggering violent protest from the opposition. It is also reported that in recent weeks, government has sharply increased taxes to replenish state coffers. Economic Community of West African States, ECOWAS, chaired by Ghana's President Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo, threatened to impose sanctions.
To discuss our response to this clear violation of our common charter of governance, of good governance in the ECOWAS region, and what decisions we want to take in response. Videos
shared on social media had earlier shown military vehicles patrolling Conakry, the capital of Guinea. Meanwhile, the Prime Minister of Ethiopia, Abiy Ahmed, whose country has recently been hit by massive unrest, this week held bilateral discussions with President Akufo-Addo in Accra. Ethiopia is one of the first 20 out of 38 African countries that have deposited its instrument of ratification after Ghana, Kenya, Rwanda, Niger, Chad, Eswatini, Guinea, Cote d'Ivoire, Mali, Namibia, South Africa, Congo, Republic of Djibouti, Mauritania, Uganda, Senegal, Togo, and Egypt. The Ethiopian Prime Minister Abiy Ahmed met President Akufo-Addo in Accra at the Jubilee House on Wednesday, September 8, 2021. And the talks centered on strengthening the relations between Ghana and Ethiopia, as well as exploring other areas of mutual interest to the two nations at the continental level.
He's coming to talk to us about the progress of bilateral relations between Ethiopia and Ghana, then of course necessarily about regional and continental issues as well.
So the coup in Guinea has indeed shaken the political foundation that was being built for an economic environment that would allow proper peaceful trading among nations on the continent of Africa. And that's gotten pundits worried. A lot of watchers of economic empowerment of the continent of Africa, as well as a politically peaceful environment on the continent of Africa, are beginning to get worried. And they are saying that it is about time that Africa or the AFCFTA begins to look at a protocol dedicated for security.
If it's a standalone protocol, then there are certain agreements, there are certain conditions, there are certain annexes that will be factored in. For example, you have Morocco and Algeria. For many years now, they've never had their borders open to each other. And these are big economies within Africa. So if peace and security were to be a protocol, there could have been certain conditions and clauses that would force them to open their borders. Because it is not there, most of the government will feel very relaxed. But when you sign to a treaty to an agreement, you have to make sure that you submit to its implementation to the latter.
So few days ago, the minister in charge of Africa for the United Kingdom was here at the Secretariat of the Continental Free Trade area and met His Excellency Wamkele Mene, the Secretary General of the AFCFTA Secretariat, who hinted that in the coming days, the Secretariat is going to pay a lot of attention to trade facilitation on the corridors of Africa, and there is an upcoming forum in Togo.
We intend to confront the challenge of transit, customs procedures, and lack of efficiency in border management in Africa. I'm happy to announce to you that the first in a series of our AFCFTA corridor project meetings seeking to address this challenge that I've just referred to shall take place on the 16th of September in Lomé, Togo, and we will host that meeting of ministers of trade as well as heads of customs authorities.
So the single African market, we got that hint, and ahead of that forum to be held in Togo by the AFCFTA Secretariat, we went to Aflao to assess the border town of Aflao and also to take a look at how people are able to trade between Togo and Ghana in spite of the fact that the borders there are closed. We also took a look at some of the unapproved routes that we hear a lot about, and it will be very interesting to take a look at the story that's coming up. On arrival at Aflao, Ghana's border town with the Republic of Togo, the town looked much inactive compared to its usual and otherwise bustling border town Aflao is known for, with very low trading activities compared with what it used to be prior to the emergence of COVID-19 pandemic and the subsequent closure of the borders. The streets of Aflao are quite dull compared to the usual. We're going to come back when the borders are open to see and show you the pictures between the two scenarios. But at the moment, because the borders are closed, not a lot of people are here. The motorbikers are complaining that they can't get people to commute, so they're also not getting jobs. It's a dull place, I must say. The bus stations had a lot of buses still waiting for passengers. Traders, service providers and residents say the border closure has virtually taken the life away from the Aflao we had always known it to be.
When the border is closed like this, it is not easy for the people to come and bought the bus for us so that we can load our bus.
Togo musuna kokoye juma ansan ye didi ba esi ababie woni ho chire too much ame come die Aflao company bi ni antin boy se wa ni na Togo mu na ye den yetimi kope kakraba ya ma me mu nyina o moduane na asefo nyina free Togo mu ansan e ba ntino boda na atu no ama nyama bo aye so aye den
ye ko fa wo inu koto asa na didi yes mu go border ni mai
bas bebre sisi asa bi mu abedi 3 weeks nyina bosumi warati oho aduma na entwa yi
hwe bas sisi nyina ya biaba ye nyalodu nko.
They say the situation has made life unbearable at the hitherto dynamic border town.
On entrée de souffrir, là où on est maintenant, même pour aller au marché, pour aller acheter quelque chose, il n'y a pas d'argent. Même l'eau glacée qu'on vend, l'eau glacée, on ne paye pas. Maintenant, qu'est-ce qu'on va faire? Il faut nous regarder le vieux dame là. Notre mari est mort. Moi, là où je suis, mon mari est mort. Je n'ai pas de mari. Mais j'ai 5 enfants. 8 enfants, 8 petits enfants. Comment je vais faire?
No would the enemy, Namiata Samia Mumiapondu, Miado, Dial to 2 Mushang Lock Nemi, Mifu la Flow, what they could Nakatamila. I bought that to me, remember your school, Timoji, I have bought an old Vietnam Modrova, and we are Majana.
Yabreati too. Obian come back. Ye ton idea yento a comedy ye waha. Say everything scatter.
He over the gadge over David to Piaji or to David to Quia, the gadget how to Tamia Akpa, Emi Dra, Packle Doc, Bemi Drako in a Togo and the shadow Kwami Quick Togo me, Tami the cuckoo, me come up for Maula for Nemitari, me Pedemia Chinoa, who the enemy the Gamia Hamiata Convire de Miaduru.
We were informed that many travelers now resort to unapproved routes.
Yeah, there are unapproved routes. There are more places that people can come in. They will come in to buy their things and go back. But when we don't pass through the borders, it will not help the people. Because when you are passing through that places, you can't buy a lot and pass there.
Standing behind the ties like this, I'm in Togo, and I walk in here. I arrive in Ghana peacefully and nicely, where I was coming from. That's the high streets of Lomé. So the question is, who are we deceiving? People would definitely move. Now the young kid there is playing in the no man's land and crossing to Ghana. A lot of people would also cross beyond the tie into Togo and come back into Ghana. People are moving nonetheless.
Bon, on est en train de demander le pardon, la République de Ghana. Bon, nous, on est ici, donc on rentre au Togo. C'est au Togo qu'on fait notre travail, tout c'est au Togo. Donc ils ont fermé la frontière depuis là. Pour rentrer au Togo, on est en train de souffrir ici. On est en train de souffrir.
Pardon à le gouvernement ghanéen de nous faire de toutes sortes pour ouvrir les frontières parce qu'on a souffert. On a beaucoup souffert même. Et il y a nos enfants qui vont à l'école au Togo, il y a des enfants qui sont au Togo qui vont à l'école au Ghana. Et nous travaillons aussi, on travaille au Togo, il y a d'autres qui travaillent dans le Ghana. Maintenant, comme ils ont fermé les frontières, on n'a pas le droit d'aller au Ghana ou bien au Togo pour aller travailler.
Can we now begin to look at protocols that will fight the COVID instead of preventing people from crossing from one country into the other, especially when these countries are AFCFTA party state, hoping to quickly get back to shape and begin to trade among themselves?
COVID in India, no moon for solution be about why I'm a COVID, no, Abaswani, but yes, in the berry, yes, in the Batna, by a cousin to border Numudia.
We would like the government to put in measures, COVID-19 measures, at the borders in collaboration with the Togolese authorities so that they will all follow the same format in checking people who come in and leave the country.
Few small-scale traders and porters who were seen using the border after returning from trading in Togo for the day said the situation has made life more difficult and solutions need to be found as soon as possible.
Les achats, tout est devenu compliqué. Sinon, nous prions vraiment que vous ouvrez la frontière pour nous. Et on vous en prie d'ouvrir la frontière, sinon ça ne va pas. Parce que le Togo et le Ghana, tout est changé. Beaucoup de choses ont changé. Et nous prions vraiment que nous changeons et vous nous aidez à changer. Il faut que vous ouvriez les frontières.
The border closure is affecting business. Nothing is moving. Everything is at standstill. No business is flowing. The exporters are not coming in.
Some of us, the AJV, crossing over to Togo is a very difficult situation that we always face now. So, and it has actually bring hardship to we, the free forwarders, the people who, other stakeholders around us who are also facing these challenges.
Meanwhile, some freight forwarders at the Aflao border are calling for intensive sensitization of the AFCFTA.
The traders are to be educated, to be taken through the process, how it should be. Exporters, importers, and even freight forwarders should be taken through all over the country. It shouldn't be centralized in only Accra. It should be decentralized.
They express worry about the lack of cooperation from other francophone countries when it comes to the implementation of trade policies and protocols, which is hampering trade facilitation.
They don't usually go by the rules, especially Benin, because they treat the consignment from francophone, let's say Cote d'Ivoire, preferentially than consignment that are coming from the anglophone countries. We are having challenges with Benin as to the movement of export goods from other sub-regions through Benin to Nigeria, whereby they are now demanding full payment of duty before you are allowed across.
And there is delayance in clearance process. That is also part of the journey. That is delaying the whole system.
It is adding so much cost to do business along this corridor because the goods are just transiting and you are demanding full payment of duty on the consignment.
If there are cars that parked here, there's no clearance. Now they will tell you there's no space in Togo. You have to wait till the following day.
Togo doesn't have a parking space. So ideally, if the Akanu border, joint border at Akanu will be activated, then at least we take care of those traffic issues as they will have enough space for trucks to park to undergo their custom formalities and the rest of.
Another observation at Aflao is a lack of adequate infrastructure to make it a first-class border town.
Oh, there are supposed to be developmental projects that are holding around the township. There are supposed to be feasibility studies to see where things that are needed for the township that will build up the place that are supposed to be done. So that even the villages, there are a lot of things there that's supposed to be worked on. There are no roads down there.
This particular fence all the way to where we have the mesh, the pillars there with the mesh there, we call it no man's land. So here doesn't belong to Ghana, it doesn't belong to Togo. But from the mesh beyond is Togo. And the problem is that a lot of people from Togo have been using that particular stretch, the unapproved, that route to come in here. Now you can't blame them because all the houses there, you know, people live there. Some of the same people are also living this side of the mesh. So the entire Beat-9 area, if you'll be surprised to realize that quite a number of Togolese are already working here. My guy, who is this here, the vulcanizer here, is a Togolese. He lives just across the mesh over there, and he comes here to work. Definitely when he closes from work, he needs to get back to Togo, and that is where he comes from. So you can't prevent him from going, and he has a free movement as a citizen of ECOWAS, also as a citizen of AFCFTA member state. The freight forwarders and AFCFTA advocates say it is about time Aflao is giving a facelift as a border town.
COVID-19 has taught us a very big lesson that there's a need for infrastructure. Most of the borders lack infrastructure financing. They don't have there's a lot of land space around where our borders are, but it's not developed. We need to develop a lot of facilities, waiting rooms, clinics, isolation centers, laboratories even at the borders, because we don't know the next pandemic. Then your issue of security comes. We need to have strong security, both being the police side or military or at all borders, to ensure that there is a lot of calm. Then adopt technology, drones, taking border monitoring.
Well, very interesting observations at the border town of Aflao, and I believe that the message is quite clear. But Professor Paul Nugent of the Department of African Studies at the University of Edinburgh is reminding African leaders that, look, COVID is probably here to stay. So let us begin to find solutions around living with COVID, particularly when we have a vision to trade among ourselves and be able to commute from one country to the other without barriers.
Two things. In West Africa, just open the borders. There's no reason for these borders to remain closed. Open the borders.
Are the East African borders open?
Yeah, to all intents and purposes, yeah. They were always fairly open anyway, because there was so much stuff that was moving. They have a much bigger COVID problem. Kenya and Uganda have a serious COVID issue now. So I think we're talking now about things closing up again. And then as far as governments are concerned, the message is very simple. If you sign agreements, implement them.
So as more and more countries are ratifying the AFCFTA agreement and some depositing their instruments of ratification, Ghanaian entrepreneurs are also preparing feverishly to take control of the African market and ensure that their products are of quality enough to compete with all products wherever they are coming from, or even when they're exporting them to other African markets. Now, my entrepreneur for this week is adding value to groundnut. Her peanut butter is packaged in a way that you may not have ever seen some, and she's poised for the African market.
My name is Annie Irabna Safo. I have a background in biological sciences and a master's in nutrition and dietetics. Currently, I'm a registered dietitian. We are into food processing, peanut butter in a jar in a sachet, peanut chocolate spread, and then cereal. So this is our roasting machine. It does the roasting, all the roasting. It doesn't matter the quantity. Okay, so we have the peeling machine. So we try to also label all of them. After the roasting, this is where it comes, and then we fill it, and then it goes to the filling machine. That's the peanuts grinding machine. That's the sachet machine. We have a scale. It's supposed to be 25 grams, right? So when it fills for a while, we pick one and we weigh to ensure that it's within the range. As he's cleaning, he's also pressing to ensure there are no leakages in them. So right from the onset, we had people coming in from some of these international food companies to come and advise, to give us training. I didn't take anything for granted, seriously, because I feel like whatever I was doing, I'm not doing just for the Ghanaian market, but I was doing for the international market and the other African markets as well. So we have the peanut butter, which is made of 100% granules of peanuts. No added salt, no added sugar, no added oils, no preservative. It can be used for soup, it can be used for sauces, for spread. You can put it in a child's bag to take to school. You can tear it, it's easy to tear. You don't need a knife or anything, scissors to cut it. You can just use the hand and it will tear easily. So this is made of peanut butter, and then the chocolate is the wheat and the rice, and we have fortified it with soybeans or soya beans, which is a legume high in protein. So during production, what happens is we take a sample, we put it here, and then it's taken to the lab. We have particular products that are supposed to be within a certain area. We don't mix the granules with the cereal products. They are supposed to be separate because we get people who are allergic to peanuts and are not allergic to wheat. And we get people who are allergic to wheat but are not allergic to peanuts. And on our label too, we even have it there so that if the person feels okay, if it's a peanut producing company and I'm allergic and I'm not too sure, then I'm not going to take the cereal, so that the person does not, because some of the allergic reactions can be very fatal. Okay, so we have the information on our labels, also in English and French, that tells you that we are ready for the African market and the world. So I source my raw materials mainly from the north, but I have a few others down here so that if we are having challenges getting them, we can have easy access to those ones as well. So we are getting to about 30 employees, and we hope to employ more as we expand because demand is going high. Feedback has been very, 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 very good, especially with the static. It's kind of novel, kind of new, and so going for a healthier option. People love it, so the demand is going. So we look to employ more people if we get assistance. After the filling, we bring them here for packaging. When we are done, then we do a second sealing, safety seal. Then after that, we package it here. We put it a pack of 12. Currently, we have about 50 outlets. There are some that I even have no idea. We are not even producing to the capacity of the machines that we have. And we look to sending to other African countries. We've actually gotten someone who wants to take it to Togo. But because of the border closure, the person that we are waiting for that token so that we can send it. So we send them to a number of countries, and the feedback has been positive. They actually tell me that when they see them in the shop or they receive them, they actually think it's a foreign product. They never thought it was a Ghanaian product, so they see produced in Ghana or made in Ghana. And that tells us that our packaging is really meeting the international standard. I took time to read about what goes into even the material we are using for everything, how it will stand the temperatures we have at the different countries. And our vision now is to get into the African market. I have someone in South Africa who is waiting to get some there. And since it's all part of Africa, it would be great to have our own products, being able to cross the borders without having worries about the taxes and the VAT, the huge amounts that you have to pay. So it would be great to see our products because we know we meet international standards. So it's not that we are going to do for Ghana and then we are going to do special ones for another country. No, it's the same thing that we are sending outside and we are getting the same feedback. So we hope that the African market will be a great opportunity for us to expand. I have a very, very big vision, and I believe that if we get funding, we'll be able to do exploits and probably take over Africa with our products. Yes.
So the reason why Single African Market, we've dedicated ourselves to be able to expose some of these innovators, young people who are doing very well as far as entrepreneurship, innovation is concerned, and as well as women who are leading the way, is that they are the ones who are much more involved in the micro, small, and medium enterprises. And they are going to lead the way as far as AFCFTA is concerned. Listen to the Secretary General on this bit.
We have also witnessed that during this period, the enthusiasm and the energy of our private sector to rise to the occasion and to take advantage of the AFCFTA, particularly small medium enterprises that are led by women and young entrepreneurs.
So in spite of the unfortunate news coming from the Guinea, as far as the political landscape of the continent of Africa is concerned, we also had some very good news as far as AFCFTA is concerned. And Tanzania ratified the AFCFTA agreement. Also, we had a message coming from the AU chairperson on the occasion of the Africa Union Day on the 9th of September. Professor Kitila Alexander Mkumbo, a Tanzanian Minister for Investment under Office of the President there and a Member of Parliament, has announced that Tanzanian Parliament has ratified the AfCFTA agreement. The announcement, which was made via a tweet, read, quote, "Pleased to announce that today, the 9th of September 2021, the Parliament of the United Republic of Tanzania has ratified the agreement establishing the African Continental Free Trade Area, AfCFTA, effectively joining the 1.2 billion market and $3.4 trillion US African economy." Unquote. The African Union is a continental union consisting of 55 member states located on the continent of Africa. The AU was announced in the Sète Declaration in Sète, Libya, on 9th September 1999, calling for the establishment of the African Union. The intention of the AU was to replace the Organization of African Unity, OAU. Therefore, the 9th of September every year is set aside as AU Day to celebrate the oncoming of the AU. In a message, the AU chair, His Excellency Musa Faki Mahamat, on the occasion of the celebration of the African Union Day, said, quote, 9th September will always be full of memories, but also of expectations, remembering not only the first steps of this long-held political project of African unity, but also memory of the achievements made on the road to this unity. The success we have achieved can only be mentioned here in the shadow of the challenges, which are many and diverse, that are piling up on our journey. They compel us to permanently reconfigure our action strategy, unquote. He added, quote, the general panorama of political life on our continent has been greatly shaken up by political instabilities resulting from unconstitutional changes, but above all, from repeated and ever more threatening attacks by jihadist terrorists operating in vast areas of the continent, unquote. Finally, he said, quote, it is within the framework of our constant efforts, our will to reject the fatalism of despair, that we must maintain the momentum for the attainment of the major objectives set by our founding fathers, unquote. Happy African Union Day to all. If you want to know the weather report in Conakry, Guinea, that report is coming your way, as well as all cities on the continent of Africa. And if you need to pick a flight to any city on the continent of Africa, that's also coming your way, as well as the forex rate for the African market and the AfCFTA membership status of countries. Thousands of Africans are sharing their thoughts and contributions with us on our various social media platforms in creating a single market for Africa. You might also want to get there and share your thoughts with us and contribute to this whole dream via our social media platforms. YouTube, you can subscribe, you can like, comment, and share your thoughts with us. If you have any comments, any advice, any thing you want us to observe on the single African market, we'll be happy to share your thoughts and observations with the rest of the continent. Thank you for watching the program. Now we'll see you same time next week.
Smart 24, driving business.
Cooking oil like no other makes your meal so sweet.